Well, I'm going to finish this advent calendar by hook or by crook or by needle. And since I don't have any snaps to attach all the little animals and such to the advent calendar today, I'm going to work on the baby Jesus. He's the next piece I feel the most confidence about making. Now, I learned how to make little people, knit them a number of years ago from somebody online. I don't remember who it was. But I'm going to show you how I do this. It's very easy. And because this is a little teeny person, this is a baby, I think it'll be even easier yet. So I'll turn the camera down and you can, or around, and you can watch as I work on the baby Jesus. Like most of you, I have just tons and tons of partial skeins of yarn and scrap yarn around. So I am going to use this for the baby Jesus' face. He's not going to have a body. I'm going to go straight from his head into his swaddling gown, I guess you'd call it. And as we all know, baby Jesus was not a little white baby. He was a little Middle Eastern baby, a Jewish baby. And so, like I did with Mary and Joseph, I'm choosing, I think this might be the same yarn. I'm choosing kind of a light brown color, which I think would be appropriate for the color of his face. And the way you do these little babies, and even larger dolls, is you start at the head and you really do just a rectangle, starting with the head color and then grafting straight into the clothing, the skirt, the whatever the shirt's going to be next. I'm not going to put arms or legs on him because I'm assuming that they are going to be enclosed inside of his swaddling clothes. But here's a good idea. Here's a good example of, this is Joseph. You can see how I put on his head covering later, but I started at the top and knitted across and came down, and I worked straight into his neck. So this is, didn't have to attach these. I just knitted straight into it, changing color, and went all the way down to the bottom, incorporating a little bit of pattern here and some color at the bottom. And then I did totally enclose it. And then later I went back and did, I think, some I-cords, really short I-cords for the arms, and attached them through. So now I am going to, and I don't even remember, it's been a year since I did those. I don't remember how many we cast on, but I'm not going to do many. So we will, let me see. I mean, I'm thinking probably 10 stitches would be enough. This is going to be in, because I don't want to finish the baby Jesus and have him be this mammoth-sized baby compared to Mary and Joseph. It's like I'm thinking that would be plenty for the front of his head. That's actually 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now that's how I cast on. I don't know if that's how you cast on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. I'm thinking that'll probably give me like 4 on the front, 4 on the back, and then 1 around kind of the curve of the head, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go with that. And this is what I like making these little dolls. They're so fast. And it's nice to have this tail because you're going to need a little bit of yarn to stitch up the back of the doll. Okay? And so now that I've got my number, this becomes pretty easy. You do want it to be stuck in that stitch. You want all knit on one side and all purl on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and purl this side. So I will turn off the camera and get back to you when I get to the grafting into his clothing. Okay? Okay, now I've only done 4 rows here. I did a, as you recall, I cast on, and then I did a purl and a knit and a purl and a knit. And I don't think that the baby Jesus' face should be any longer than this. This is the top of his head, and so this is his neck, and I think that that's about as much as I can do. Now, when I get done with his clothing, and this is kind of probably more like a square, then that's the time to go in and maybe add any detail I want, like maybe some little teeny eyes, with some contrasting yarn if I want to do that. I may or may not do that. Too much detail make him look big. I'm also still wondering if it's too wide. It just really looks pretty wide. I may need to cinch it up in the back. Okay, so I am going to change colors and graft into this nice dark green. I was contemplating colors for his swaddling clothes. I thought about giving him something like purple or, you know, a royal blue to indicate his kingship. And then I saw this green, and for some reason it appealed to me. It's not as wealthy looking. They were a poor family, but it just reminds me that Jesus is the King of life. And so I think, I don't know, for some reason that green really appealed to me. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll show you when I start this next section. On second thought, I thought it might be useful to show any of you out there who don't do a lot of knitting or yarn work, but would love to be able to make something small like this, how easy it is to change color. Okay, just don't be afraid. Fear not, as the angel said. I'm going to go ahead and cut a little tail from my active yarn here, because I'm done with that color. I'm going to take my new color, okay, and you can, you know, you've got plenty of yarn. You don't have to cut it short. And then you're just going to tie yourself a little knot, and you want to make sure that the knot ends up as close down there to the work as you can. Okay, it'll feel kind of floppy at first, but the nice thing about yarn is if you don't get it close enough, you can always unknot it and try again. Okay, so now I have changed color from the brown to the green, and I can go ahead and cut off these. Now I want to keep this nice long tail, but I'm going to cut off these two shorter ones I was just working with so that they don't confuse me. And anything extraneous like that will be tucked inside the body of the doll. Okay, and this is something you could use to make large dolls, small dolls, any size doll. Okay, so now I'm going to keep going. My next row is, looks like I'm on a knit. How did I do that? Maybe I only did 3 last time. That's possible. Anyway, looks like I'm on a knit row. So I'll get back to you when I get this the swaddling blanket as long as I want it to be. All right, well, this is my little piece of knitting. You can see that the body's somewhat longer than the head, but neither one is really long. I hope he's not too big. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to put 2 little eyes on him. I'm going to use one of my flexible tapestry needles, and this is just a piece of scrap dark brown yarn. I really do want his eyes on, you know, in the middle on the front. I don't want him far apart or anything, and I don't want him too high up. So we're going to go about right there. And I want to leave enough on the back. Oh, well, that wasn't clever. Okay, let me look again. Where was I before? Let's go in there. All right. I was looking at the wrong color and I pulled it all the way through. You want to leave enough so that you can tie the 2 ends together when you're done. And look what I did. Oh my goodness. If there's a mistake that can be made, I will make it. I went straight. How did I even do that? I couldn't do it if I tried. I put that needle straight through the tail. Okay. You just want 2 little brown dots. Nothing, just the appearance of a little teeny baby eyeball. Okay, nothing big. And then again on the next row over, if you can get your needle through, which is a big question sometimes. Okay. I'll remind everybody the reason I was making this advent calendar was for the grandbabies, especially my grandson who's old enough to enjoy it maybe. And we didn't see any of our grandchildren at Christmas because of the COVID pandemic. So that's the reason that, as I said, I lost my mojo on the advent calendar. That's really why. Okay, so now I've got 2 little bitty eyeballs. I hope they don't look too scary. They look like little teeny dots. So I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to gently tie these 2 together, these 2 ends. You don't want to pull them really tight. And then I will snip those ends again. Okay, and that's really the extent of how much face I want in this. Okay, so 2 little bitty eyes. And then another thing, now, I haven't done one of these dolls in a long time, but as I recall, the way that you kind of get a neck, like an indentation where the neck is, I think, I don't remember doing this. I know I didn't do it with needle and thread, but because the baby Jesus is so little, I didn't want to use any more bulk. I think, yeah, I think I'm just going to go in and out here. You're basically going to do kind of a drawstring through here. And again, you want to do all of this before you start closing him up. Okay. I wish I remembered better how to do this. But this is 2 strands of thread. I used white. But I can cinch that up. And I'm going to stuff this head with cotton ball, with cotton. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to snip the needle off and leave that yarn, that thread in there. Okay. And then the next thing I need to do is to start sewing him up. So I'm going to get the, and I will tighten this as I go and stuff him with cotton a little bit. Well, I hope this works. He's looking more like an alien than a baby, but we'll see. Sometimes babies do seem a little like aliens, don't they? I'll get back with you after I've done some more. Okay, I have this bag of scrap fiber. This is alpaca fiber from various spinning I've done. And I just took a little bitty piece and stuck it in there. Wanted to mention I always keep a small crochet hook at my work area. This is useful for so many things, especially if you've gotten yourself into a bind while you're knitting or doing anything. And this was perfect for stuffing this through. And then after I put it into the head, you can see you can take these 2 strings and kind of tighten that and cinch it up and get a little bit of a neck. And that's what I'm going to do next. And then I'll stitch the top of the head closed, and then I'll work on stitching the skirt. Now, how I ended up closing up the head, and you can barely see the 2 little eyes right there, is I had this tail on one side. I had the tail down here, and I just threaded it through some of this yarn up to the crown. And instead of closing the head this way or this way, which I thought it would have looked strange, I threaded it through the tops of the top stitch, the loop of the top stitch, again like a drawstring. And then I'm going to pull it through and just cinch it tight, and that will close it up more like a circle instead of having a flat top either way. Yeah, that's a really nice effect. Look at that. I think that turned out well. Okay. So now I'm going to pass this probably through the middle of the body and knot it off somewhere else, and then we'll do the bottom. All right, well, I stitched up from the bottom up, because that's where the tail was, up the back of the gown, and then put my needle in and drew it all the way through. So now I have 2 like that, and I'm in the process of stuffing a little bit of alpaca into here. I'm just going to use the butt end of my crochet hook to pack that in. I really honestly would like to leave the dress open. If I can get that to stay in there, I think it looks better. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe it should be closed. Yeah, I think I'll close it up. Make it look like he's swaddled. Okay, so I will trim off this and use this tail to finish the bottom. So, got to find his eyeballs. There they are. I might actually just take this nice soft needle, which won't damage the yarn, and pull the eyes a little bit out more like that. Okay. It's amazing how much time it takes to make something this simple, but making dolls and small things can be more time consuming than others. Oh, I wanted to mention, part of it is because the needles are so small and the knitting is just teeny. These are size 2 knitting needles is the size I'm using. You could use 1s if you needed something to be a little teeny bit smaller, but I wouldn't go bigger than a 2 for making these miniatures. Okay, and you could go up in needle size as you wanted to go up in the size of the doll. Okay, there's our little baby Jesus so far. Boy, he's bald-headed, isn't he? Now, when you end up with a tail like this, I did put a final knot. I like the, I did the same thing on the bottom here. I just passed my yarn through the top loop of these stitches and then drew it like a drawstring. And then you can just pass this needle through the body anywhere. And then just snip that off nice and close without ruining your work. And mash it around, and that end is tucked up in there really well. Okay, I wanted to show you, hang on just a second, oh, it's a mess around here. I wanted to show you some of the dolls I've done. This was, I warn you, this was the first doll, okay? This is the first doll I ever did. But you can see the same effect. Now, I actually did a dress for her. And put her arms through some little holes there. So this is she actually has a whole body inside there. And I must have done a drawstring. I just don't remember doing it. This is some yarn I used for her hair. And the hair is really fun because you just pass it through the head. And you can use crinkly yarn, curly yarn, all kinds of fun yarn. On this one, you can see how I did cinch her up the bottom and put these, the I-cords are the biggest pain in the world. That's probably the reason I stopped doing dolls. I never did give her away because she's just kind of weird looking. You see how on a larger doll, you can do the eye like a little V, following, you still do it afterward, but following the knit pattern. And you can put a little nose, you can put a little mouth. I did lots of dolls when I did those little, the knitted bassinet purses. I'll put a link up there to that video in case you want to go watch making the bassinet. But I didn't show how to do the dolls. And so I guess this video is as close as I'm going to get. You see the difference. You can make something just as teeny as this, or this is actually a good sized doll that kind of fits into my hand. Okay. Softest hair ever. So, you know, I really am wondering if I need a teeny little bit of hair on his head. I think maybe, yeah. Let's see how he looks with Mary. Here's Mary. Here's baby Jesus. That just about works. He's not too gargantuan of a baby. He's a little bit tall. He comes up to her shoulder, but I don't think I could have done him any smaller. What do you think? A little bit of brown hair? Too much hair? I think I'm going to leave it. It's not in there real tight. It's really just I passed through with the needle, leaving loops. And then I just snipped the loops, and then I kind of gave him a little hair trim. But this is not a doll that's going to be played with, so I'm not too worried. And if the hair comes out, I can always put some more in. You could knot it and stuff, but I think this will do for now. All right, this is the baby Jesus. I'm going to use little snips of this for the hay, and probably knot it all together so it doesn't fall apart. And then I have to make a manger, and I think I'm going to make the manger out of felt and attach it to some nice stiff board. It won't be very big, but I need a manger that's three-dimensional enough that he can lay in while it's attached to the fabric advent calendar. So I'm going to have to ponder that, but I think I'm going to use felt. Besides, it'll be easier than knitting it. So this is the last knitting I have to do. Tomorrow, I will go to Walmart and get some more snaps. And as soon as I get back, you know what's going to happen? I'll find the snaps that I lost somewhere. I'm sure I will. Well, I'm back. I'm making the manger after all. I had a little scrap piece of pretty thin cardboard, not very thick. But I thought it might do, and I cut out this shape with a bottom. You see, like that. And then I cut out some little legs and I just glued them with some school glue like that. And then I've cut out some felt, and I thought I would use something bright. Everything doesn't have to be gray and, you know, dark brown and impoverished in these poor people's lives. And I thought I would, when I glue this on here, I'm not going to tuck this over the top. That makes it too bulky, but I am going to wrap this around the back so that it will make kind of like a little cup of the manger so that the baby Jesus will go in and not fall out. Okay, so I'm going to very carefully just glue, I guess with school glue, maybe super glue, around the back end. And I don't think I'll need much glue on the front because it'll be pretty snug. Okay, so I'll show it to you when I get done. Oh, and I made, here's the hay, asleep in the hay. This is just some of that golden yarn, and I had some short pieces, and then I tied up in a little bundle, and it'll go in there first, and then the baby Jesus will lay on top. Well, I had to use super glue after all. The school glue did nothing with that felt. And so you see I've attached the piece of felt on the back, and I've left some room. It has enough room to open up on the sides, just enough to put that straw in there and rest the baby Jesus on the top. And look okay on the front, I think. A green manger may seem strange. Maybe it'll go well with his green swaddling clothes. I thought the children might like something bright like that. So I think all of my pieces are done for the nativity, and all I need is the snaps. Yay! I'm back with the Advent calendar. I went to Walmart this morning bright and early, about 7:15, and I got a new card of snaps. And I also dolled up my camel a little bit yesterday. I began to ponder if he was trying to escape because he had no clothes. Maybe he was trying to go to the store. So I made him a little saddle. I had this little bit of leftover bling from the angel repair that I did, if you remember. Maybe I'll put a link to that up there. The angel repair. This is a little teeny bit of bling I had left to put that on his saddle, and this is his saddle blanket, and this is his saddle. Put a little bit of rain on him anyway, so maybe he'll stay home now. So let me see, I'll show you what's going on. Here's the Holy Family over here: Joseph, Mary. Here's the manger, there's the baby, there's the camel. He belongs over here with, these are the three wise men, okay? 1, 2, 3. This one he looks pretty tidy. He must be in charge. Here's his sidekick, second in command. This one is crazy looking. He looks like he came from the Muppet Show. Doesn't he look like one of those scary people from the Muppet Show? And here's the 3 gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's the gifts. I contemplated loading them onto the camel for him to carry, but he's a pretty recalcitrant camel, and I think he would probably drop them off on the way to Bethlehem. So I will be sewing snaps today. I've already got snap number 1 on the side of the camel. And so I'll get back to you when I'm done with that. And I am watching, as I do this, I'm watching one of my favorite movies, which is called This Beautiful Fantastic. You may wonder if it's one of my favorites, why I had to check the name. It's because I had forgotten how much I liked this movie. I saw it years ago, and now that I'm watching the first 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's adorable. So, This Beautiful Fantastic. I recognize all the actors in it, but I don't know their names, except for the guy who played Moriarty on the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes. He's in this, but he's not mean. He's nice, which is so strange. It's nice to see him not be Moriarty. So, okay, I'll get back to you. It may look a little bit like a mess, but, you know, I love it. It probably was a bit of a mess on that winter night in Israel. Okay, so here's the star and the stable. The angels are singing. I'm sorry. Here's the 3 wise men. 1, 2, 3, underneath the palm tree. And here's their gifts at the foot of the manger. There's the nice camel. He's so patient. Here's the shepherd with 1, 2, 3, 4 sheep, a pig, and 2 goats. And here's baby Jesus going in the manger. Let's get him turned the right way. There we go. All right, it's all done and ready for next Christmas.